Hello, welcome to Microsoft Flight Simulator again. This is the Indiafoxtecho F35. This is the B variant. We're loaded up RF MARM on a fairly nice day by the looks of it, but it's not going to stay nice for long. Yes, we're going to set some Lightning going. We're going to fly this Lightning jet through some Lightning. I'm going to take it from MARM to Norwich. We're going to cover things like the forward-looking infrared, some synthetic aperture radar implementation, very basic, and some top tips on how to get the most from this aircraft, and of course some gotchas where it's not ideal, it's not perfectly implemented. But credit to the developer, that is mostly down to the coding of Microsoft Flight Sim. And if you're that way inclined, then it's really important to have the most accurate representation of a fighter aircraft, then guess what? Hit DCS, have a look at that, and be impressed by the latest implementations they have of their infrared technology. But without further ado, let's jump into the cockpit. So like I said, I've got a route planned. I did it in Little Nav Map, and if you wish to have that as a downloadable so you can follow this routing, then put that in the comments below and I'll be happy to upload it for you. So we've got a GPS route loaded. Let's cover through some setup, and if you want to skip ahead, I'll put chapters so you can go straight to the takeoff. And we'll be covering in fact, let's do a short takeoff with the B variant, and then we'll be into low level, and hopefully doing some low level zero visibility using the infrared. Okay, so we are here. We've got some setup things to do. So we've got route 1, RTE1, which means we've got the GPS route enabled. Here it's going to take us through to, in fact, we can go waypoint left and right. So if you have a look on the left-hand side, you can see LKH is in there. And in fact, whilst I remember, that's Lakenheath, by the way. If I set 039 in here, that gives me the TACAN. You can see that pops up, LKH, and they're both pointing in the same direction. So we know that the TACAN is locked on and the GPS route is good. You can see that goes through to Thetford, so if you look on the left-hand side with the green writing, that's Thetford, then Snetterton Racetrack. I think we'll be going too fast and the weather's going to be too bad to actually see it, but we're going to fly over it. Onto Norwich Ring Road, and then we're going to head towards a waypoint that I've put just for lining up purposes for an ILS 27 at Norwich, and hopefully that's going to be pretty bad weather, and I'll show you some of the gotchas as we go. And then of course you've got Echo Golf Sierra Hotel as the airfield itself. This will auto sequence through, so I'll put it on LKH, and that's all we need to do regarding that. If you don't have RTE1 up here, you can hit CNTL. CNTL will give you your different, I don't know what it stands for, but primary nav sources. So there's the VOR. So if we're here in the VOR, we need to set up the ILS for Norwich. We can do that now, so that we're not trying to type it in whilst we're flying through a storm. So 1109, and then for the course we want 268. And I'll probably put the heading bug 268 as well, so that if you wanted to set the autopilot up, and the autopilot is here now, you can set autopilot altitude to, in fact, let's go 03,000. Heading's already in, course is already in, speed is going to be about 240 knots, if we needed that. So the autopilot is now set up roughly for what we need it, if we're going to use it. So that's a backup feature. So ILS we've done, TACAN we've done, GPS routing we've done, so that's pretty much all we need to do here, other than put it back to route 1. There we go, route 1 for following through. On the menu, if you get confused by all these windows, so you've got lots of different buttons all over the place, if you change things and it goes, oh my god, what am I doing? If you just hit menu, cruise, it goes back to where it was originally. Very simple stuff. IFF, just for fun, I'm going to set a squawk in there. GCAS, here's one that is often annoying because you're flying low level, the GCAS starts going off, and that is the alert saying you're too low. Just press where it says GCAS auto, press on that, and then press GCAS auto, and it cycles to off, so it will no longer bother us. So there we go, that is sorted. We also have in this aircraft FLIR, or FLIR, or whatever you want to pronounce it as. If you click on that window, it pops up into the main window, and this is a very basic representation. It is very, very basic, okay? It's just for fun, I guess. It's in the background. You can see the terrain, but you can't see anything else. You can't see any vertical obstructions man-made. You can't see any trees. So largely, it's a little bit useless, but can provide a bit of SA, as I'll demonstrate for the ILS later. So that's the FLIR. All these windows have nav, eng nav, FCS nav, IFI nav. These are actually buttons. So if you press that, you get a different page. And the other thing I wanted to show you now is the ASR. So you've got synthetic aperture radar here. So that's a top-down view. I'm not entirely sure how to zoom it. I'm not entirely sure of any of the controls. but it's there. Okay, you can have a play with it. You could also have DAS. It doesn't seem to be working now, but I think the DAS, it might be that it's only enabled when we take off. So let's put it back onto Eng. Finally, because it's going to get a little bit dark, I'm going to put some lights on. Put menu, lights, and then console lights here, console, and you can't see them now, but it'll be a little bit better illuminated when we come to switching the lights off. Talking of switching the lights off, let's go and do that. So I'm going to select weather, and I'm going to select storm. Just the generic basic storm one. Oh my goodness. In fact, let's hit my custom storm, because that raises the cloud base a little bit. You can see, look at that, this is the edge of the storm. Looks a bit nicer, but over there the rain looks fantastic. I think it's time to get going, so we're going to go fly this low level in this weather. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Parking brake is off. Here we go, crikey. No, of course I would never do this for real. And if I was sat here in F35, I'd certainly be pinching myself. Right, remember I said that the head-up display gets really not usable at night, so if we change this to night, you can now see it's very, very clear. Also, if we change it to night on the MFD, you can see actually the contrast is a little bit better, and you can see more detail. So both of those are set to night. Okay, a little bit of short takeoff action. My goodness, look at that lightning going on. So we're here, we're going to go auto takeoff, parking brake is on, and all I need to do is release the brakes and off we go. Remember also, even though it's doing an auto takeoff, make sure you have full power selected, because as soon as you take, oh, crikey, off we go. And the wind's blowing us around a little bit. Oh, it looks a bit glitchy for some reason. Make sure you get a bit of speed before you take stable mode out, otherwise you'll soon plummet towards the runway. And then you need to recycle the power away from max in order to get the afterburner. So there we go, gear is up. 350 knots. And we want to head this way. My goodness, it is a bad day to be flying. So we're not going to see much of Lake and Heath, but we are going to fly at low level and try our best. So about 420 knots is a decent speed to go. Waypoint is 14 miles away. Let's see if I can find... Wow, crikey. Let's see if I can find that... Ah, it's DAS. Now, DAS seems to me stands for Defensive Aid Subsystem. Well, I guess that's DASS. But here you can see we have got the imagery below, so that is neat. If we go to ASR, we've got the black and white representation of what you'd see if it was a synthetic aperture radar. So that's cool too. Let's put it back to engine for now, otherwise it's a little distracting. Cool, so the storm is behind us. I want to stick to the storm because it's more fun. So let's cycle through the waypoints. If I go here and then to the next waypoint, you can see that Thetford is off to the left. So let's cruise on that way. If the weather stays too nice, because that's quite an isolated storm, I was expecting it to be a bit worse, then we'll just make it worse. Here we are over Thetford Forest as we head towards the village, town, whatever it is of Thetford. And then we'll head to the race course. So this is nice. 250 feet is normally what you go for. Radar shows 350 and descending. And the radar, by the way, I think that is based on the ground, not the trees. A real radar will, of course, pick up the trees. It'll probably pick up pylons, etc. But in Microsoft Flight Sim it won't. So if you're relying on Norfolk being flat and then just flying the flight path marker on the horizon and staying on the radar, if the weather was bad, then you'll be bumping into things left, right and centre. Okay, the weather is far too nice. Let's make this a little bit interesting, shall we? We can try drizzle. Drizzle is quite a good one. So I've got Weather Preset Pro installed. And there's lots of decent things in here to pick from. So let's go drizzly rain. Let's fly like this for a minute. This is pretty neat. I like the ambience of this one because the rain showers, you can see the definition between the rain showers. You can see where it hits the ground and the visibility gets a bit worse. It's just nice. I like it. Now we're steering towards Norwich by the looks of things. There's the A11 down to the right. And the visibility is about to get a little bit bad. So let's put FLIR up. Now, whilst I remember, this is bore sighted to the aircraft, so normally what you do is put the FLIR up in the HUD, and then you could fly like a proper synthetic vision, like seeing in the dark, all the detail in black and white or green shades. And it works that way, but unfortunately it doesn't, and all you get is this flat grey with no definition. Ooh, accelerating very quickly. Let's chuck it into storm. Here we go. This is the default storm coming up. Good Lord, look at that. We are really heading into it now. Of course, faced with this, you would turn around very quickly. Oh, I love the contrast. Look at that. And I'll make sure when we come back for the ILS, regardless of what the weather is, that the weather is bad, because it's more fun when it's bad. And you can see me struggle, which is always fun to watch other people struggle. Okay, visibility, look at this. This is awful. So I'm almost zero forward visibility on occasion. So I've got to make sure that my flight path marker, the little round thing with the horizontal bits, stays above the horizon. And I can back up with a little bit of information coming from the FLIR, but not a lot. Here we go, proper zero visibility at 300 feet on the AGL. It's uncomfortable, that is for sure. Now remember back to the days of Prepared, or P3D, where the clouds were two-dimensional. But the amount of definition you get in this is incredible. Okay, so here's Norwich. We are pointing towards the lineup feature for the ILS, and I'm going to stay at low level for a little bit longer, see if I don't crash. And you can just see there's no buildings on the FLIR, and that is not Indiafoxtecho's issue. That's not their problem. They've not done anything wrong. It's just the only thing they can really do to make it reasonably realistic. Now, in a practice I did yesterday for this, I was in zero visibility and I was flying along like this, and all of a sudden a wind turbine like this pops out of the gloom, and it was pretty surreal just to see it fly past. And I will probably cut the video now so you can see what that looked like, because it was really bizarre. And a little bit scary. Wow, another storm coming in. Where are we? So we've got EGSH runway 27 ILS. That was very close to the airplane. Is where we're headed, and that's off to the left. So what we're going to do shortly is take a left-hand turn, climb up to 2,500 feet-ish, and we're going to fight our way back to Norwich. Good grief. Okay, I think that'll do. Off we go, out of low level. I want to bring it back to about 300 knots. I want my primary nav solution, so CNTL until I get to ILS. So ILS is selected. It's a bit choppy out here, so I'm going to have to fight it. So I can see the pink needle is my ILS, the blue needle is my TACAN, which I don't really need. I could switch it off, but I don't want to divert too much attention away from flying accurately. And you can see Norwich City, I guess that's Norwich, beneath us. The ILS, we're 13 miles away, so we're in a good place at the moment. Now I want to slow down to 250 knots, because that's close to where the gear limiting speed, I'm guessing, would be. And about 2,500 feet to 2,000 feet is a decent place for intercepting the glide path. Now more on the glide path in a sec, because it just doesn't appear to work with this aircraft. And if you know what I'm doing wrong, or if there's a better way of doing it, please feel free to put it in the comments so we can all learn. Or of course, if the guys from Indiafoxtecho are looking, please put that in the comments and I'll then amend what I've done and just update you all on how I should be doing it. But it just appears that the implementation, again, just doesn't work to a point where I can't actually fly an ILS accurately, which is disappointing. Because of course, with this aircraft, you want to fight through wherever you're fighting through and then fight through the weather, because that's always good fun. So in terms of lining up, I'm just waiting for the horizontal pink steering command to come to the left. There it comes. That was good timing. And I should be able to follow that. So I should be able to bank enough so that it stays where the flight path marker is. Kind of. Just about works. So left and right works. Altitude's good, speed's good, ILS we've got 12 miles. So let's talk about some of the things I found that's wrong with this. So let's put CDI on for a start. But I don't know what it stands for, but it gives you your left and right dots and your up and down dots, your glide path and your localizer. You can see that even though I'm not on the glide path, it would appear that the glide path indication, it's saying I'm on glide path, which I am not in any way, shape or form on the glide path. I'm not even sure if the localizer part of it works either. So I can't use that for my glide path reference. So I have to use, unless I can set this up a bit better. So again, I could have perhaps found a way of putting it on here, but I haven't found it yet. So put in the comments if you need to. So I can't use that. I have to use the horizontal steering command. So gears coming down. Another thing you'll notice is the flight path markers are different between the head down display with a altitude indicator here and the head up display. So we've got gear down, so that's working. Speed will be about 150 knots, so I'll try and slow that down. I'm ballooning a bit with the flaps coming down. And you can see that horizontal magenta line is coming down. What you'd normally do is put the flight path marker, either round circle, onto that cross and then follow it down. That is all you'd need to do. But you can see on the head down my flight path marker is low, on the head up my flight path marker is high, which is incorrect. Now if I push down to put the flight path marker on the cross, it wants me to go 6 degrees nose down. I don't want to do that. I want about a 900 foot rate of descent, so that's what I'm going to set. Then we'll see how we get on. So speed's good, localizer's good, and it looks like I'm beneath the glide path because my magenta line is above my flight path marker. So let's try and correct that a bit. I'm a little bit slow as well. Okay. So at this point I've got no idea whether I'm on the glide path or not, just that I'm in the vicinity of where that magenta line is. My rate of descent is stable-ish. And on the FLIR, I can see that the Norwich airport is starting to break out. This dark patch is where the runway is. So we've got some reference there. Back up, I have a keybind for the Stovall modes. If it goes wrong, I'll hit Stovall and hit hover, and then we'll just lower ourselves gently down. Stovall is wing light keybind, and hover is autopilot heading, I think. Okay, localizer's good, speed's a little bit fast, visibility is 0, which is what I wanted. Just hard to trim this out, just trying to fight it a little bit. Okay, that's not bad. Now, without glide path reference, I should be flying a localizer, but I'm just trying out following the steering commands to see how accurate I can be. ish. So what does the radar say? The radar says I'm at 1,000 feet. So ground elevation appears to be about 300 feet. For reference. So actually when my AMSL, my altitude gets to 600, I should be about 300 feet above the ground. So there's a good backup. Now, oh, it's getting very bumpy. Localizer appears good, I think. Wow, it's getting very bumpy. Oh, above the glide path. I think I'm hitting the middle of the storm. I can see trees breaking out. I can see the rad alt is 600 feet. I'm getting a bit nervous now. It's saying fly down, so I need to fly down. I can see the roads down there, so let's not go that steep. My goodness, 2,000 feet a minute this close to the ground, that's a bad idea. 300 feet. Let's level off around about 600 feet. Now it's saying fly down. Let's find this runway. Come on, runway. That's too far down. Look out for that runway. There's the runway. There's the termination bars. What's my speed? Speed's good. There's the threshold. Oh my goodness. Idle. Fighting it down. Oh! Ooh, just as the lightning strikes. Brake, speed brake. Backstick. Wow. That was intense. Highly illegal. Highly dangerous. But for 1 out of 3 attempts of doing that, it just about got there. Bit of backup with the infrared. But the ILS is just so difficult to follow, and that's such a shame because, you know, this is... I mean, look at the atmosphere here. It's just fun to try and fight it down. So I hope that video was a little interesting, a little enjoyable. It was certainly fun to make and certainly tricky to get back to this airfield in a storm, but it's quite fun to fight the weather occasionally. If you've got any questions, feel free to put those in the comments below. If you've got any requests, do likewise. And if you want me to upload the route just so you can follow through that really simple route plan, I'll put the details and a route card together if you wish. But that is it from me, and I hope you join me for the next video.